The 2024 Acura ZDX is Acura's first EV, and yes, it has 500 horsepower, 544 pound-feet of torque, huge 6-piston Brembo brakes up front, adaptive suspension, and adjustable side bolsters for all those G's you'll be pulling. As you probably already know, it is based on GM's Ultium platform underneath, and that doesn't make it necessarily a bad vehicle. As we're about to find out, it just might create a bit of confusion for the brand. All right, ZDX or ZDX, don't roast me in the comments. Let's launch it. Oh. That's 60 miles an hour. Not slow, okay? 500 horsepower, 544 pound-feet of torque. Any EV you get into nowadays, torque is so easily accessible that instantaneous torque always gets me, it catches me off guard. You know, it's so torquey, so powerful. Now I have set our motor sounds to be in sport mode, so we can actually hear some of the sounds for you guys, because EVs on camera, I know, aren't the most exciting, but the new ZDX. So is it just an electrified MDX? No, the answer is no. So this is not a 3-row, it's a 2-row SUV, and while the wheelbase is about 8 inches longer than the MDX, it is actually about 2.7 inches shorter, and the MDX is still slightly longer in overall length. Now, 500 horsepower, you still get decent range. In fact, quite a bit more range than the competition. This has a 102 kilowatt hour battery, and that's good for 447 kilometers of range or 278 miles. You get slightly more range with the dual motor A-Spec, a leg up over the GV60 Performance, which it's a little bit smaller than this, not a direct comparison, but you do have a ton of range here and a charging speed of up to 190 kilowatts, fast charging from 20 to 80% in 42 minutes. If you're at those speeds, if you're, check your local chargers to see whether or not you even have chargers that are capable enough to do that. Now the Type-S gets air suspension, which is great. Last week I was just driving the MDX Type-S, and that of course does have air suspension as well as adaptive dampers. This gets adaptive dampers as well. Hold on for acceleration. Every opportunity I get to just punch the throttle, so much fun. It's good here. It's great. You can have it soft in normal mode or in sport mode. It gets a little bit stiffer, still really soft. Now, just jumping out of the MDX Type-S, this is not even close to the same air suspension. It does not perform the same in the ZDX. That's not to say it isn't good. If you're comparing this to its direct EV competitors, the adaptive dampers are good. They smooth everything out. I find though it's better at the higher speed stuff, the freeway cruising and ironing out those big bumps, but just at lower speeds, it's just not quite as, plush as the MDX Type-S. That ride is exceptional in that vehicle. So with that air suspension, you are able to raise and lower the vehicle slightly, not to the same level as the MDX. The MDX's off-road mode gets so tall. There's so much wheel gap there, a ton of ground clearance, of course, with that. The car is quiet, very comfortable place to be. If you're getting in the ZDX after coming out of any Acura product, you're going to be lost because this is, as I mentioned, on GM's Ultium platform. It is effectively the same underneath as the Cadillac Lyriq or the Chevy Blazer EV and a number of other GM products. And we have a few drive modes, as I alluded to with the motor sound. Where's the drive mode select button? Not in the center, not prominent like in other Type-S models. It's down here on the left. By the parking brake, kind of have to reach down to get it. It's a little bit of an awkward position. You can set your steering and throttle response and just be done with it. It's not a huge thing, just different from every other Acura. The steering's good. It's on the heavier side. I've heard people complain about the steering being too heavy. It's not. It is on the heavier side. I just keep it in normal. In sport, it's even heavier. That's traction control cutting in very heavily there. Wow, that was aggressive. It almost like nannied me out of the corner even after I was done having fun. That was incredibly invasive. Either way, steering's good. There's not much feel here. 6,000 pounds. I mean, it's an uphill battle. It's good though. It feels premium. It drives incredibly smooth. The throttle doesn't get too twitchy in sport mode. The only one criticism I would say is I can't actually turn off the drive mode sounds, the motor sounds, those artificial sounds completely in any drive mode. They never go away. That's a bit frustrating. Not too high up. Visibility is phenomenal. It has that huge expansive hood. The view out of the hood is very American, and there are certain things that give you kind of an American GM feel. It even smells like a GM. Also, huge 22-inch wheels with the Type-S. Really good brakes, smooth brake pedal. Yeah, these adjustable side bolsters are a savior. Little bit of tire squealing there. All right, yeah. It's heavy. This is no agile small SUV. It kind of tricks you because it feels like I'm much more hunkered down here versus an MDX. So it makes me want to push the car in the corners a little bit more and kind of flow through the corners a bit harder. But yeah, you cannot escape the weight. This does have 50-50 weight distribution, which is a far cry from the MDX. Much better weight distribution here, and of course it's a lot lower down. It just weighs a lot more. Now, all ZDXs in Canada come with all-wheel drive. There is a rear-wheel drive model available in the US for a little bit less, and that is a rear-wheel drive model with even longer range. But there's a problem the way I see it. If you go around back, that all-wheel drive badge is missing one key important thing for a driving enthusiast or somebody who knows the Acura brand already. No SH all-wheel drive. What does that mean in the context of a modern Type-S vehicle? Well, SH all-wheel drive effectively means the gasoline-powered vehicles with that badge contain some kind of torque vectoring going on, a rear differential splitting torque between the left and right rear wheels. The ZDX does not have any real torque vectoring going on in the rear, and this is where we see electric vehicles are very different in the way they deliver torque. That's when you begin to see, of course, dual motors for all-wheel drive models, but now we're seeing tri-motors and quad motors, and that basically enables the electric motors to distribute torque in a much more efficient and effective manner when you're driving a vehicle quickly. Now, that might not mean a whole ton to you, but as far as the brand, the Type-S brand goes, it's missing that key component, something that's incredibly important to the modern Type-S brand. Now, yes, as I mentioned, it has these giant 6-piston Brembo brakes up front. They feel great. Yes, they stop the vehicle incredibly quickly, but why are they really here? The vehicle weighs 6,000 pounds, almost 1,200 pounds more than the MDX Type-S. That's what these are mainly here for. Now, let's talk about the exterior of the car. So I happen to think the ZDX looks fairly good. I like the way it looks better than the Cadillac Lyriq. I like the way it looks better than the Blazer. It incorporates some Acura brand DNA here. You can see that in the headlights. You can see that in the front grille, the sides, yellow brake calipers. Love that on its own. Love this color, the Scarlet Red Metallic here. Awesome. But then we come around to the top. It's got the two-tone you get with the Type-S, but then we have a chrome strip here. Not a fan of that. That can go. I get what they're trying to do with that, making kind of a floating roof look. I can't get behind it. And then we have this silver down on the bottom, which you cannot spec the ZDX any other way. There's just a ton going on, and it's a lot to take in. Now, if we were to pop the front here, the front hood, there is no frunk. Now, when you compare it to the now named EX40 from Volvo, that gets a small frunk. The Mach-E gets a frunk. This has nothing up there, so that's kind of a point against it. We come around the back. Yeah, you have more cargo space than the EX40 from Volvo, way more cargo space than the GV60. This is much more comparable, however, to the GV70 electric, which has the same cargo capacity behind the second row. Tons of room in the second row. Of course, we have all our climate control back there as well. Heated seats with the Type-S back there. It's good at what it sets out to do, but having just driven the MDX Type-S last week for the same amount of money, you get a ton more cargo space with that vehicle. So one solid row of climate control, I can get behind that all day long. Center console is totally different here. Versus the MDX, you actually have a ton of storage down here. Center console is huge as well. And then we've got a wireless phone charger here, which keeps my phone from going everywhere. And then there's this interesting kind of wall bit here. I get why they did it. It's probably, if I had to guess, to kind of make me feel like this is my space, keep the passenger away. You know, that kind of cliche of the cockpit for the driver. It doesn't serve any practical purpose. Everything kind of on the higher levels of the interior are soft touch materials. The seats are great. Now, are they on the level of the MDX Type-S? They're close, they're incredibly close. We also have the 16-way with the Type-S. Adjustable seats here, adjustable bolsters that includes, and the extendable thigh part here. Just for reference, if you get a base Macan EV, which is almost $10,000 more than this, you don't get adjustable side bolsters. So good on you, Acura. Very focused on driving here. All models get the Milano leather seats. This one's trimmed basically in all black. We have the brushed aluminum. It looks solid, it looks good, it's simple enough, it's easy to use. And of course this clear part on the top of the steering wheel is for hands-free driving. With two screens here, 11-inch for the driver and 11.3 for the infotainment. So Google Maps is built in, and we can pull that up in my driver display, which is just awesome. We have all of our trip info. You can pull up native maps, or if you're connected to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, those maps will show up on your screen as well. Ambient lighting, although I'm not able to turn off the feet lighting, I would like to just keep the top ambient lighting on. I can't do that, I have to have all or nothing. That's a minor thing. With the Type-S, you also get a digital rear view mirror. We get the 360 cam. This one's got a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats. Oh yeah, coming back to maps. If I'm in Google Maps here, and this has been like this the entire time I've been driving the car, on the left side, if you're on the home screen, you'll see, okay, your Android Auto, your maps, your music, little icons displaying what section of the menus you want to go into. But when I go into maps, those icons disappear. And it's not until I go and touch the screen and click where I think the button should be, then it appears and brings me to that menu. Little glitch there, that's not great. I don't love that, but overall it's incredibly responsive. All ZDXs also get the 18-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system. Great system, not quite the system you get with the MDX Type-S, but it's definitely up there, more than enough for a vehicle this size. For the same money, I'm gonna keep coming back to this, if you buy an MDX Type-S, you get less features here. You get less speakers, you get less functions in the seats, you don't get massage seating, and it just doesn't feel quite as upscale as another Acura product, the MDX, for the same money. So it's really pick or choose between your battery EV drivetrain, if you need that, or for $4,000 less, the MDX Type-S. But in reality, you're likely going to be paying, I mean, you could easily spend $4,000 on fuel with the MDX Type-S in the span of 12 months. So there goes that savings, right? The choice is yours. Okay, so despite its comfort and practicality, I have had a couple of issues with the car during my week driving it. So I started up the car and I was flashed and welcomed with, I wasn't flashed, I was welcomed with some warning lights on the dash telling me that my regen braking, there was a problem with it. It had malfunctioned, my auto hold was disabled, and I had no one pedal drive. A little bit worrying. When those warnings came up, I was able to drive home, but every time I came to a light, there was like a shuddering and noises and clicking noises as I came up to a full stop. I was a bit worried. 2 days went past and it fixed itself. It went away. So that was a little bit strange on a vehicle with, what, 1,600 kilometers on it currently. So since filming this video, it's come to my attention that Acura has issued a recall for the ZDX that sounds eerily similar to what I experienced. It is an ABS recall and should be solved fairly quickly with an over-the-air update. Now, I haven't heard back from Acura quite yet on what my specific issue was, but I figured I'd just give you guys the rundown of what exactly happened in my specific scenario. That's just reality. And if Acura gets back to me with any information on what happened in my scenario, I will put it in the comment section. Okay, so that's it, the ZDX. A great vehicle, a great EV, a comfortable EV, a large enough EV depending on your needs, if you need a 3-row or not. You really have to ask yourself, what is the Type-S brand to you? For me, in modern context, it is what the TLX Type-S and the MDX Type-S promise, which is real torque vectoring in the rear, a very dynamic handling experience. And although those vehicles are slightly nose heavy, they deliver on that promise. They're dynamically good. The steering is phenomenal, much better in those cars than this car. And yeah, this has more power than both of those. It does not quite live up to my interpretation of what a modern Type-S should be. Of course, you're paying to never pay for gas. Again, it's your choice. So the ZDX starts here in Canada for the all-wheel drive A-Spec, $84,000 Canadian. This one, as tested, is $94,000 Canadian, which is $4,000 more than the MDX Type-S. Here's what I would do. I would just get a base A-Spec all-wheel drive, or for you guys in the States, the all-wheel drive middle trim for the ZDX. It gets you still the audio system, like I mentioned, real Milano leather seats. You don't get the side bolsters, you don't get the 6-piston brakes, but the one thing I would miss if I got the A-Spec would be the adaptive air suspension here. It is phenomenal, really good. So the choice is yours. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This has been the Acura ZDX. I'm driving some exciting stuff coming up, so stay tuned. We'll see you soon.